The hunters become the hunted. The void between stars had always been silent, but today it screamed with the agony of burning metal and shattered dreams. Colony ship New Horizon drifted helplessly through space, her hull torn open like a flower blooming in reverse. Emergency lights flickered across twisted corridors where families had been sleeping just hours before. War Chief Gorvac stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Blood Talon, watching the human vessel burn. His scarred face twisted into what his species called a smile, though it looked more like a snarl to most beings in the galaxy. The Crimson Horde had been hunting these soft humans for weeks now, picking off their slow colony ships one by one. "Another easy kill," Gorvac rumbled to his second-in-command. "These humans are even weaker than the report suggested. No weapons, no shields worth mentioning. It's almost too easy." His bridge crew chittered with cruel laughter. The Crimson Horde had built their reputation on crushing the weak, enslaving entire species, and turning peaceful worlds into burning wastelands. Humans were just another species to add to their collection of broken civilizations. But 15 million kilometers away, Captain Jake Romano was about to change everything. When Earth's children fight back, the distress signal had reached the TES, Thunderstrike 3 hours ago, cutting through the quiet hum of routine patrol like a knife through silk. Captain Jake Romano had been in his quarters, sharing a quiet moment with Lieutenant Zoe Blackwood, his tactical officer, and the woman who'd stolen his heart during their last shore leave on Mars. "Jake," Zoe had whispered, her fingers tracing the scars on his chest from the Titan mining accident that had changed his life. "Do you ever think about what we're really fighting for out here?" Before he could answer, the red alert klaxons had shattered their peaceful moment. Now, as Jake stood on his bridge watching the tactical display, he knew exactly what they were fighting for. The colony ship New Horizon had been carrying 12,000 civilians, families seeking new homes among the stars. Most of them were dead now. "Captain," Navigator Tess Morgan called from her station, her voice tight with controlled anger. "I'm reading multiple alien vessels in attack formation around the colony ship. Configuration matches Crimson Horde battle doctrine." Jake's jaw tightened. The Crimson Horde had a reputation that stretched across 3 sectors of space. They were raiders, killers who preyed on the innocent and turned conquest into an art form, but they'd never faced humans before. "Zoe," Jake said quietly, his voice carrying the kind of calm that came before storms. "What's our weapon status?" Lieutenant Blackwood's fingers danced across her console, her green eyes reflecting the weapon readouts. She was beautiful and deadly, a combination that had attracted Jake from the moment they'd met at the academy. More importantly, she was the best tactical officer in the fleet. "All systems green, Captain. Railguns charged, missile tubes loaded, and our new plasma cannons are ready for their first real test." She looked up at him, a fierce smile playing at her lips. "The Thunderstrike is ready to show these aliens what human engineering can do." Jake nodded, feeling the familiar weight of command settle on his shoulders. The Thunderstrike wasn't the biggest ship in Earth's fleet, but she was the most advanced. Human scientists had poured everything they'd learned from decades of space exploration into her design. She was fast, heavily armed, and built with one purpose: to protect humanity's expansion into the stars. "Tess, take us in. Full burn toward the colony ship." Jake's voice carried across the bridge like a promise of vengeance. "And send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the Crimson Horde just made the biggest mistake of their violent little lives." The dance of death begins. War Chief Gorvac was inspecting the cargo holds full of human prisoners when his sensor operator's panicked screech echoed through the ship's corridors. He stormed back to the bridge, his massive frame filling the doorway like a nightmare given form. "What is the meaning of this disturbance?" Gorvac's voice could have cracked stone. "War Chief," the sensor operator's voice trembled. "We have an incoming human vessel. Single ship, moving fast, very fast." Gorvac's 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the tactical display. One ship against his entire raiding fleet of 20 vessels. Either these humans were incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. In Gorvac's experience, Bravery and stupidity often looked the same. Armament? He asked. Unknown, War Chief. The ship's design doesn't match anything in our databases. It appears to be some kind of human warship. Gorvak's laughter boomed across the bridge. Warship? These soft creatures don't know how to make war. They barely know how to fly through space without killing themselves. He gestured dismissively. Send 3 ships to deal with it. We'll use the wreckage to terrify the remaining prisoners. But as the TES Thunderstrike closed the distance to the battle zone, it became clear that someone had miscalculated. And it wasn't the humans. Human innovation meets alien arrogance contact in 60 seconds, Tess reported from her navigation station. 3 alien vessels moving to intercept. They're big, Captain. Each one outmasses us by a factor of 3. Jake studied the tactical display, his mind working through attack vectors and firing solutions. Beside him, Zoe's hands moved across her weapons console with the precision of a concert pianist preparing for the performance of her life. Jake, she said softly, using his first name in the privacy of command decision. Their ships are crude but powerful. Lots of armor, heavy plasma weapons, but their maneuvering systems look sluggish. Then we don't let them catch us, Jake replied. Tess, prepare for combat maneuvering. Zoe, I want firing solutions on all 3 targets. We're going to show them how humans dance. The first alien ship, a massive wedge of dark metal bristling with weapon ports, opened fire while still at extreme range. Bolts of green plasma streaked through space, missing the Thunderstrike by kilometers as Jake's ship twisted and weaved through the attack. Their targeting systems are pathetic, Zoe observed, her tactical display showing the wild scatter pattern of alien fire. It's like they've never fought anything that moves faster than a cargo hauler. Then let's educate them, Jake said. Fire when ready. The Thunderstrike's railguns spoke with the voice of human determination. Solid projectiles, accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed, punched through the lead alien ship's armor like bullets through paper. The vessel's hull buckled, atmosphere venting in glittering streams as internal explosions rippled through its structure. War Chief Gorvak watched his raiding ship die and felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of conquest. Uncertainty. The tide turns impossible, Gorvak whispered as the human ship continued its deadly dance. The second raiding vessel, the Bone Crusher, tried to ram the smaller human craft, but the Thunderstrike simply wasn't there when the alien ship arrived. Instead, it had slipped beneath the Crimson Horde vessel and unleashed a full spread of missiles into its belly. The Bone Crusher broke apart like a child's toy, its death throes lighting up the darkness between stars. On the bridge of the Thunderstrike, Jake felt the familiar rush of combat. But this was different from the simulators at the Academy. This was real, and the stakes couldn't be higher. 12,000 human lives hung in the balance, not to mention the message this battle would send across the galaxy. Captain, Zoe called out, her voice tight with concentration. The third ship is trying to flank us, and I'm reading energy. Build up from the main alien fleet, they're powering weapons. Jake's smile was cold as deep space. Good. Let them all come. Tess, bring us about. Full power to engines and weapons. Zoe, target their command ship. It's time to send War Chief Gorvak, a message he'll never forget. The Thunderstrike accelerated like a guided missile, her fusion engines pushing the crew back into their seats with crushing force. But human technology had advanced beyond what the Crimson Horde could have imagined. Inertial dampeners kept the TU crew conscious while the ship performed maneuvers that should have liquefied any living being aboard. The third raiding ship never had a chance. The Thunderstrike's new plasma cannons, still warm from their first deployment, carved through its hull like hot knives through butter. The alien vessel's magazine detonated in a spectacular fireball that briefly outshone the local star. Across the fleet of the Crimson Horde, alarm sirens wailed as 20 ships suddenly realized they were facing something completely outside their experience. The humans hadn't just built a warship, they'd built a predator. When predators become prey, War Chief Gorvak's 4 hands gripped his command throne as reports flooded in from across his fleet. 3 ships dead in as many minutes. The human vessel was moving through his formation like death itself. striking with precision that spoke of superior technology and tactical genius. All ships, Gorvak roared into his communicator, converge on the human vessel. Overwhelm it with numbers. Bring me its captain alive. But even as he gave the order, Gorvak felt doubt gnawing at his confidence. The Crimson Horde had conquered. 17 different species had broken fleets 10 times their size through sheer brutality and overwhelming force. Yet this single human ship was making his raiders look like children playing with sticks. On the Thunderstrike, Jake Romano stood at the center of his bridge like a conductor orchestrating a symphony of destruction. Around him, his crew worked with the efficiency that came from years of training and absolute trust in their captain's leadership. Zoe, status report, Jake called as the ship shuddered under the impact of enemy fire that actually managed to find its mark. Shields holding at 80%, she replied, her fingers never stopping their deadly dance across the weapons console. Hull armor is barely scratched. Captain, their weapons are powerful, but their targeting systems are centuries behind ours. It's like fighting blind giants. Then let's show them what it means to face someone who can see, Jake said. All hands, prepare for full engagement. We're going to break their entire fleet. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies for generations to come. The Tess Thunderstrike, outnumbered 20-1, proceeded to systematically dismantle the Crimson Horde's raiding fleet with surgical precision. Every shot counted, every maneuver was calculated for maximum effect. Human engineering proved superior to alien brute force. Human tactics outmatched alien aggression. Most importantly, human determination to protect their own proved stronger than alien hunger for conquest. As the last of Gorvak's escort ships exploded in brilliant flowers of light, the war chief found himself alone with his flagship, facing a human vessel that had just accomplished the impossible. War chief, his communications officer said, voice shaking with terror. The human ship is hailing us. On the main screen, Captain Jake Romano appeared, his uniform singed from battle, but his eyes burning with the fire that had carried humanity from a single world to the stars themselves. War Chief Gorvak, Jake said, his voice carrying across the void between their ships. You have attacked innocent civilians. You have murdered families seeking nothing more than new homes. In the name of humanity, I offer you one chance to surrender. Gorvak's laugh was bitter. You think one ship can defeat the entire Crimson Horde? We have fleets across 3 sectors of space. Jake's smile was colder than the space between galaxies. Then you'd better call them, because humanity just declared war on your entire empire. And when we're done, the galaxy will remember what happens to those who prey on the innocent. The transmission ended, leaving Gorvak staring at a blank screen, while the reality of his situation sank in. The humans weren't just another species to be conquered. They were something the Crimson Horde had never encountered before. A civilization that built their ships not just to explore, but to protect. And now, they were angry. War Chief Gorvak, conqueror of worlds and breaker of fleets, reached for his communications array with trembling hands. For the first time in his violent career, he was about to call for help, when pride becomes desperation. The emergency council chamber of the Crimson Horde's homeworld had never witnessed such chaos. Overlord Nexith, supreme ruler of 17 conquered worlds, paced like a caged predator across the blood-red floors while his war chiefs delivered reports that shattered everything he thought he knew about galactic warfare. Explain to me again. Nexith's voice was a growl that could have cracked stone. How a single human vessel destroyed an entire raiding fleet. War Chief Gorvak, his pride as broken as his scattered fleet, stood before the assembled council with his head bowed. The scars on his face seemed deeper now, carved not just by battle, but by the humiliation of absolute defeat. Their technology surpasses our understanding, Overlord. Their ship moved like liquid lightning, struck with the precision of a surgical blade. When I demanded their surrender, their captain, he laughed at me. Gorvak's voice cracked on the last words. He told me to call our fleets because humanity had declared war on our entire empire. Silence fell across the chamber like a shroud. The Crimson Horde had never faced a species that didn't cower before their might. They had built their empire on fear, conquest, and the simple principle that superior numbers could overcome any resistance. The humans had just proven that principle catastrophically wrong. "One ship," Nexith whispered, his four eyes burning with rage and something else, something that looked dangerously like fear. One human ship humiliated the Crimson Horde before the entire galaxy. Word had indeed spread across the stars with the speed of hyperspace communications. The story of Captain Jake Romano and the TES Thunderstrike was being told in every cantina, every spaceport, every gathering of species who had lived under the shadow of Crimson Horde tyranny. For the first time in decades, those species were beginning to hope, love, and war. Among the stars 3 weeks after the battle at the colony ship New Horizon, the TES Thunderstrike hung in orbit around Mars, undergoing repairs and upgrades that would have been unimaginable just a month before. The ship's victory had unlocked military budgets that Earth's government had kept locked away for decades. Humanity was preparing for war. In the observation lounge, Captain Jake Romano and Lieutenant Zoe Blackwood stood together, watching Earth's blue marble turn slowly in the viewport. Jake's arm was around Zoe's waist, and she leaned into him with the comfortable intimacy of two people who had faced death together and emerged stronger. "The engineers say we'll have twice the firepower when they're done with the upgrades," Zoe said softly, her reflection ghost-like in the reinforced, transparent aluminum. "New armor plating, enhanced shields, and weapon systems that make our current arsenal look like children's toys." Jake nodded, but his expression was troubled. "It's not going to be enough. The intelligence reports are clear. The Crimson Horde is mobilizing their entire empire. Thousands of ships, Zoe. We're talking about a force that could glass entire star systems." Zoe turned in his arms, her green eyes reflecting the starlight. "Then we'll have to be better than thousands of their ships. We've already proven that. Human ingenuity can overcome their brute force." "Have we?" Jake asked quietly. "Or did we just get lucky against raiders who weren't expecting real resistance?" Before Zoe could answer, the ship's intercom crackled to life. "Captain Romano to the bridge. Priority 1 message from Earth Command." As they made their way through the corridors of the Thunderstrike, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. The ship felt different now, heavier somehow, as if the weight of humanity's future was pressing down on every bulkhead and support beam. On the bridge, Navigator Tess Morgan looked up from her communications console with barely contained excitement. "Captain, you need to see this. It's from Admiral Victoria Sterling herself." When Earth's Children Unite, Admiral Victoria Sterling was a legend in Earth's military. She had commanded humanity's first deep space explorations, had negotiated the mining rights that gave Earth access to the rare metals needed for interstellar travel, and had designed the defensive strategies that kept humanity's colonies safe from raiders and pirates. If Sterling was involved, the situation had just become infinitely more serious. The holographic projection that materialized above the bridge's central display showed a woman in her 50s, her silver hair pulled back, in a severe bun and her blue eyes sharp as laser cutting tools. Behind her, Jake could see the bridge of the EDS Sovereign, Earth's newest and most powerful battleship. "Captain Romano." Sterling's voice carried the authority of someone who had never lost a battle. "Congratulations on your victory against the Crimson Horde. Your actions have given Earth the time we needed to prepare for what's coming." Jake straightened, feeling the full weight of command responsibility. "Thank you, Admiral. What's our strategic situation?" "Grim," Sterling replied without hesitation. "Our intelligence networks across 3 sectors confirm that the Crimson Horde is mobilizing everything they have. We're looking at an invasion force of over 3,000 vessels, including their planet-killer dreadnoughts. They're calling it the Final Hunt. Their intention is to exterminate humanity as an example to other species who might consider resistance." Zoe stepped forward, her tactical mind already working through the implications. "Admiral, what are our defensive capabilities?" Sterling's smile was sharp as a blade. "That's where things get interesting, Lieutenant. Your victory didn't just buy us time, it bought us allies. 17 different species have approached Earth with offers of technological exchange and military cooperation. It seems the galaxy has been waiting for someone to prove that the Crimson Horde could be beaten." The bridge crew exchanged glances of amazement. Humanity had been alone among the stars for so long that the idea of alien allies seemed almost impossible to comprehend. More importantly, Sterling continued. Our scientists have been analyzing the wreckage from your battle. Crimson Horde. Technology is powerful but crude. We've developed countermeasures that should level the playing field considerably. Jake felt a surge of hope, but experience had taught him to be cautious. What are your orders, Admiral? The Thunderstrike will join the main battle fleet assembling at Luna Station. We're going to meet the Crimson Horde not at Earth, but at the edge of our solar system. If they want a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget. The final hunt. Begins Overlord Nexus stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Worldbreaker, and gazed out at the assembled might of the Crimson Horde. 3,000 vessels stretched across space in perfect formation, from fast attack fighters to massive dreadnoughts capable of cracking planets. It was the largest military force ever assembled by his empire, representing the combined fleets of 17 conquered systems. Today, Nexus's voice boomed across the fleet-wide communications. We hunt the humans to extinction. They have shown the galaxy that the Crimson Horde can be resisted. This cannot stand. When we are done, no species will ever again dare to raise a hand against us. Roars of approval echoed from thousands of ships as the Armada entered hyperspace, their destination the Sol system and the complete annihilation of humanity. But humanity was no longer the same species that the Crimson Horde had first encountered. 3 weeks of preparation had transformed Earth's defensive capabilities beyond recognition. The Luna Station assembly point looked like something from humanity's wildest science fiction dreams. Hundreds of human vessels surrounded by the exotic ships of their new alien allies. The Catherian Republic had provided shield technology that could deflect energy weapons with unprecedented efficiency. The Stellar Confederation had shared gravity manipulation systems that made human ships impossibly maneuverable. Most importantly, the ancient Wise Ones had gifted humanity with quantum targeting computers that could predict enemy movements with supernatural accuracy. Chief Engineer Diego Santos worked alongside alien technicians to integrate these new systems into human ships. His hands moved with practiced precision as he calibrated the quantum targeting matrix on the Thunderstrike, his weathered face reflecting the green glow of alien displays. Captain, Diego called as Jake and Zoe entered the engineering section. You need to see this. The targeting system isn't just predicting where the enemy will be. It's calculating probability cascades for entire fleet engagements. We can see how each shot will affect the battle 3 moves ahead. Zoe whistled softly as she studied the readouts. It's like playing chess against someone who can only see one piece at a time. Exactly, Diego grinned. The Crimson Horde is about to learn what happens when you fight an enemy that thinks 5 steps ahead, when the impossible becomes inevitable. The battle began at the edge of the solar system, where Pluto's ancient surface bore witness to the clash between empire and freedom. The Crimson Horde's armada dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their ships blotting out the stars like a plague of metallic locusts. Overlord Nexus studied the human defensive line with satisfaction. Less than 1,000 ships stood between his armada and Earth. The numbers were overwhelmingly in his favor. All ships, Nexus commanded, begin the final hunt. Show no mercy. But as the Crimson Horde advanced, something impossible began to happen. The human ships didn't retreat or cluster defensively. Instead, they moved with coordinated precision that defied understanding, each vessel following flight paths that seemed random until viewed as part of a greater pattern. On the bridge of the Thunderstrike, Jake watched the tactical display with amazement as the quantum targeting system revealed the battle's hidden geometry. Every human ship was positioned to create interlocking fields of fire, every movement calculated to maximum advantage. Zoe, Jake said quietly, execute pattern Omega. What followed was less a battle than a surgical demonstration. Human ships struck with inhuman precision, their weapons guided by alien technology and human determination. Crimson Horde vessels found themselves caught in crossfires they couldn't have predicted, their formations disrupted by tactical movements that seemed to violate the laws of physics. The Catherian shields absorbed the aliens' plasma fire like armor, made of light itself. The Stellar Confederation's gravity manipulators allowed human ships to change direction at impossible angles. making them nearly impossible to target. Most devastating of all, the quantum computers allowed humanity to fight with perfect coordination, every captain knowing exactly where to be and when to fire. Overlord Nexus watched his mighty armada crumble like sand before a hurricane. Ships that had conquered worlds died by the hundreds, their crews unable to understand how their enemies could move like living things and strike like guided lightning. "Impossible," Nexus whispered, as his flagship shuddered under concentrated, human fire. "How can they fight like this?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Admiral Victoria Sterling's voice cut through the battle's chaos as her ship, the EDS Sovereign, closed for the killing blow. "We fight like this." Sterling's voice was ice cold. "Because we're not conquerors. We're protectors. And when you threaten our families, our children, our future, we become something your empire has never faced before. We become humanity united. When empires begged the Worldbreaker, pride of the Crimson Horde's fleet drifted powerless through space. Her engines were dead, her weapons offline, her crew reduced to a handful of survivors huddled in emergency shelters. Around her, the wreckage of 3,000 ships testified to the most complete military defeat in galactic history. Overlord, Nexus, supreme ruler of 17 worlds, found himself kneeling on the deck of his command chamber as human marines boarded his ship. The soldiers who entered were led by Captain Jake Romano, and Nexus was shocked to see that the humans' eyes held no cruelty, no desire for revenge, only the cold satisfaction of a job well done. "Overlord Nexus," Jake said formally, "by the authority of Earth Command and the Allied Systems Defense Pact, you are under arrest for crimes against sentient beings." Nexus's voice cracked as he spoke. "Your species, what are you? How did you become so powerful so quickly?" Jake exchanged a glance with Zoe, who stood beside him with her weapon ready but not threatening. When he looked back at the broken, alien leader, his expression softened slightly. "We're what happens when you attack someone's family," Jake said simply. "We're what you get when you threaten children who were just looking for new homes among the stars. We're humanity. And we don't start fights, but we finish them." The formal surrender ceremony took place on the bridge of the EDS Sovereign, broadcast across the galaxy to every species that had lived under Crimson Horde oppression. Nexus, once the most feared being in 3 sectors, knelt before Admiral Sterling and spoke words that would echo through history. "I, Overlord Nexus of the Crimson Horde, surrender unconditionally to the forces of humanity and their allies. We beg for mercy and ask forgiveness for our crimes against your people." Sterling's response was measured, dignified, and utterly human. "The mercy you receive will be proportional to the mercy you showed. Your empire is dissolved, your fleets are disbanded, and your leaders will face trial for their crimes. But your people, those who had no choice in your wars of conquest, they will be given the chance to rebuild, to learn, to become something better than what you made them." When love conquers all, 6 months later, the TES Thunderstrike hung in orbit around New Terra, humanity's newest colony world. The planet below was green and blue and beautiful, a testament to humanity's determination to build rather than destroy. In the captain's quarters, Jake Romano and Zoe Blackwood sat together on the observation deck, watching their new world turn slowly beneath them. Zoe wore a simple white dress and Jake was in his dress uniform. They had been married that morning in a ceremony attended by representatives from dozens of alien species. "So," Zoe said, leaning against her husband's shoulder, "what do you think happens next?" Jake considered the question as he watched ships from a dozen different species work together to build orbital platforms around New Terra. The galaxy was changing, evolving into something better than it had been when empires like the Crimson Horde ruled through fear. "I think," Jake said softly, "we keep exploring. We keep building. We keep showing the galaxy that there's a better way than conquest and domination." Zoe smiled and kissed him gently. "And if someone else decides to threaten our family?" Jake's eyes hardened for just a moment, reflecting the steel that had broken an empire. Then he smiled, and the warmth returned. "Then they'll learn what the Crimson Horde learned. Humanity doesn't start fights. he said, echoing his words from the surrender ceremony. But we finished them. Far across the galaxy, on worlds that had been freed from Crimson Horde tyranny, children played under alien suns and learned new stories. Stories about brave humans who had crossed the darkness between stars to bring freedom. Stories about love that could survive the cold of space and determination that could break the mightiest empire. Stories about the day the galaxy learned that humanity, once awakened to its potential, was a force that no empire could ever conquer. And, in the quiet moments between battles, between adventures, between the great events that would shape the future, Jake and Zoe Romano would remember the day they helped prove that sometimes, just sometimes, the good guys really do win. The stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter, as if the universe itself approved of what humanity had become.